went to.
Yeah, like
So
that. That's doable. But I'm like, an Marble Upper Marble for me was like an hour.
yeah,
Anyway, but I got tickets for Furious Thoughts Live, and I'm happy. So
oh cool.
yeah, I'm gonna go with my damn self. I cannot wait.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun actually.
Yeah, but just hope they
My
take a
ticket.
text. I just hope they take a text ticket because the person I bought it from texted it to me, and some people are like, no, you don't take text tickets.
Hmm.
So I was like, can you
Well,
email it to me as well, just in
well, they
case?
should have a bar. They should have a barcode too.
Yeah, it has a barcode. I'm just
Um,
paranoid. I'm just anxious like that.
yeah, and we got a food truck. For the minor league team in Greensboro is putting on a food truck festival today. So
But next, remind me, next week there's a food truck thing, but I'll be in Arlington when it happens down by the baseball field.
yeah, we I'll probably be over there. I'm sure,
Hmm.
or I'll wait until I may come out.
This what?
There's usually a weekly there's a weekly day party on Sundays by my not far from downtown. So
Hmm.
give me something to do, I guess.
I'm so happy. Like so, I was gonna go to a house party, warming party near Gallaudet, so this works perfectly. Park my car at his house, and I'll watch the show.
Tyler, you got your buzzer on. It's on your table. You might want to, if you're the hottest man in town, you might want to put it on like all the way mute.
Hold on. Um, yeah, I did um and turn off my notifications.
And I can. So I'm just trying to figure out what my day's gonna look like. My places.
Right there.
621. Street. Northeast. Like, who won? Some child won the French Open. Good for her.
Okay.
See, we got all the noises going on.
No, I was just a Sports Center one on
Yeah,
my
I heard it.
iPad.
Yeah.
Who
Oh,
won?
Yeah, the ESPN updates.
some child, Jelena Ostapenko.
That sucks. Too bad Venus couldn't win.
Yeah, I didn't pay attention. I knew I wasn't going to pay attention this tennis season because there's no Venus. So, eh.
Oh yeah, the French Open's going on
No,
right
no
now
Venus,
too.
not Venus. I knew I
So,
was going to pay attention. Yeah,
Yeah, Halep is playing on this from Poland. That's pretty good,
yeah.
decent
She just
returning.
won. The kid just
Oh,
won.
oh yeah, I thought it was over.
Yeah, it just ended.
Hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to take. Let me figure out my life. Because I don't think he's far from
And
Gallaudet.
we do get Nadal and Wawrinka, so the French Open final will be interesting at least.
Hmm.
At least you get names that you heard before.
Yeah.
All right. So everybody ready to go?
Yep.
Yep.
Good, Jesse?
Yep.
All right. Gonna count it down. 3, 2, 1. Hello, and welcome to Know the Score. I'm your host for today's episode, Don Delarente, and I'm joined by Jesse. What's going on, Jesse?
Hey, Don, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. And we're joined by Tyler Ball. What's going on, Tyler?
Hey, what's going on? Good to be back.
Now,
Hey, I missed the preview last week, but yeah, I got a few things to talk about in with Warriors versus Cavs. So let's kick it off.
all right. We're going to let everybody know before we get started that this is Know the Score again, and you can find us on cspn.us. You can also find us at SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, and I'm going to start that over again because
It's
I
okay.
totally went blank. That's why I keep this little tab
iTunes.
in front of me. I've got it right here in front of me.
Oh, okay.
I just had to flip it over. All right. Reset, reset, reset. 3, 2, 1. Hello, and welcome to Know the Score. I'm your host, Don Delarente. I'm joined by That's So Jesse. What's going on, Jesse?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. We're also joined by Tyler Ball. Tyler, what's going on, man?
What's going on, man? Um, Missed the finals preview last week, but I'm glad to be back and we've got some interesting things to talk about with the NBA finals.
All right, all right. We're gonna let everybody know that you can find Know the Score right here on CSPN.us. You can also find us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play, and SoundCloud. You can also get us on any app that allows you to subscribe, download, and listen to podcasts. So, like Tyler said, we're gonna jump off with the NBA Finals. We had a game last night being Friday night. So now the series is at 3-1. So 3-1, part two. But it's a little bit different than last year. There's no suspension to Draymond Green. There's Kevin Durant playing Harrison Barnes' position last year, so I doubt that he's going to go like 0 for the last 3 games if it stretches out to a 7-game series. So Tyler, since you didn't get a chance to speak during the preview, since you didn't make it, we'll let you start off with just talk about the game last night. The Cavs put up a rousing effort not to get swept. 137 to 116 was the final score. So give us your thoughts, Tyler.
Well, I think that um, it was a matter of pride, and I think that LeBron realized that. Um, I think they realized two things. Number one, um, it was just a matter of playing well enough early so you don't have to depend on being perfect at the end, and two, just the pride of not being swept. Um, they it was just interesting after game game three, the game three post game when Kyrie and LeBron acknowledged the greatness of the individuals on Golden State, and LeBron took a team perspective and uh, how he remarked on Golden State's firepower. Well, I think he was kind of making a play for what to do next season. Uh, was it a ruse? No, not really. I don't think anybody expected Golden State to not be ready to sweep. I think they were coming in aggressive. However, Cleveland was the aggressor all night, and you know there's a lot of talk social media wise about the the refs making a calling the game very closely, specifically with Cleveland getting to the line as many times as they did in the first quarter, which led to their 48-point quarter, which is the most in um, finals history. So remarkable that it took Cleveland 4 games to figure out how to attack Golden State and be more efficient on offense.
Jesse, I'll toss it over to you. Some of your thoughts from the series as a whole and the game last night.
So I was watching the game last night and then out of sleep just because I'm watching the Friday. And it was as chippy as I expected it to be. And the fact that one thing that really struck out to me is how the Cavs had to break all sorts of records in order to beat Golden State. So the Cavaliers scored the most amount of threes in the game in finals history, I believe. LeBron James got past Magic Johnson for the most triple doubles in the finals, I believe. So all sorts of records had to be broken in order to beat Golden State, and that fact is why I don't think it'll go to 7. But it was fun and entertaining seeing Steve Kerr and Zaza and Draymond just flip out. But not to the point, of course, of last year when Draymond, got ejected from a game, but it makes it more fun. So.
Right. 24 threes was
24 threes, yep.
were the amount of threes that they made as a team last night. the most by far in the finals game. Um, I think that if you're a Cavs fan, what's scary is no matter how well you played, the lead never seemed that safe. And I mean, Golden State would have a couple of good stretches on defense, or the Cavs would get careless with the ball on offense, and their 18-point lead would go to like 8 or 9 points, like really quick. And so it just, they just had to. You guys got to play on such a edge and have such pressure to be perfect, like Tyler was saying. That it's got to be hard to play under that type of pressure in this type of big game atmosphere for a whole 48 minutes, that knowing that any little mistake or a couple of mistakes could cost you the game. And that's kind of what got them in game three. They were doing everything they needed to do, and then they just had a 2 minute stretch, minute and a half stretch where they made a few mistakes and they went from winning to ultimately losing. So big thing in this game was Tristan Thompson. They attacked a little bit different. They kind of came at him with more of like a Princeton style look with their actions, more mid post type play, and then kind of playing off the corners and the baseline. So it's either LeBron going baseline or Kyrie going to the corner with Kevin Love making the decision. So, a little bit harder for Cleveland, I mean, for a Golden State to, pack it in the defense and get to where they need to be if they space the floor that way. So the threes were open. And Golden State did play really good first shot defense, but Cleveland got a lot of offensive rebounds in that first quarter, in the first half, and that kind of gave them a lot of energy. The game plan had kind of been keep Tristan Thompson off the backboard. It had worked for 3 games, but last night he broke out, and he's really Cleveland's energy player. And they played with a lot of energy, and they made a lot of threes, and so we're back to 3-1 again. So we're going back to California. And Jesse, what do you think you'll see in California? Do you think it goes past game 5?
I don't think it's going to go past game 5, but we've seen stranger, crazier things happen in the NBA Finals between this team. So I don't. I think they're going to be breaking. I think that champagne's going to be flowing in the locker rooms at Golden State.
Right.
And
Tyler?
I think that the uh let's add to the rare case that the role players, which have for Cleveland, which have been much maligned in this series, particularly Tristan Thompson, J.R. Smith, and to a certain extent Darren Williams. Just the relevance of the role players last night uh, finally gives Cleveland an opportunity to realize that they can play with the Warriors. But do you think they're going to go to Oakland and give this same kind of effort and bottom line hit shots? I just don't see it.
Yeah, and Steph and Clay both scored in the teens. I think Clay had 13 and Steph had 14. So, yeah, you can't really expect either one of those guys to give you a sub 20-point performance either. So, I don't know. It's going to be tough for Cleveland to uh, do what they did again. I think replicate at least the shooting. I think the strategy itself they can replicate, but the shot making definitely won't be easy to replicate. And number two, I don't think Golden State will rebound as bad in the first half of the next game. Actually, they ended up out rebounding Cleveland for the game, but they got so out rebounded on the offensive boards in the first half, it really didn't make a difference at the end of the game. So it'll be very interesting to see if they can keep the ghost of last year out of their heads and just shake it off and come back on, is it Sunday night they're gonna play again?
Monday night.
Monday night.
Monday.
Monday night. So stretching it out even longer than normal. So is there anything else that you'd like to kind of add, Tyler, as far as like some strategy that maybe, besides kind of Tyronn Lue going back to the David Blatt offense a little bit?
I say, well, I'm all for putting LeBron James in the post and kind of running the action through as if he were um, maybe not necessarily a Tim Duncan type, but kind of a guy who's they've kind of taken the whole point forward thing out of the conversation because LeBron's had the ball up top.
Hmm.
Why not run the action from him in the post and take advantage of him drawing possibly double teams from, you know, and just placing the shooter opposite of where the double team would come. And maybe
Well,
you get more looks that way. And on top of that, you slow the game. You legally slow the game
I,
down, a la Mark Jackson did
I don't
in the
think
with the Pacers.
I don't think that that's a part of their game plan. They haven't shown that they want to slow, quote unquote, the game down at all. I mean, that doesn't seem to be a part of their adjustment at all. Their number one adjustment for game two was we're going to speed the game up.
Speed it up, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't look like that's a part of their game plan. I think though, what he did by putting more people in the mid post, having LeBron and Kevin Love kind of exchange in the mid post, and then have them kind of play off of each other into the corners and whatnot. I think that put a lot of stress on Golden State yesterday, and they weren't really ready for that because they were running a lot of their pick and roll stuff from the 3-point line, top of the key, where they could swarm and then get back. Well, when they play at that mid post like that with LeBron, especially, there's no way that you can help. And then if you do help, it's too much space to cover to try to get back. So
All right.
at this point, we want to bring in Nabias Wilborn. Looks like he's live from on location. So Nabias, thank you for making a few minutes to get in on this NBA Finals talk. What'd you see from Game 4 that stood out to you, man?
Man, shit. Having a good day. I mean, things the Cavs came out. They did what they needed to do. Yeah, you can say the officiating was bad, but the bottom line is Cavs hit shots, lots and lots of shots, and they found a way to win a game and not get swept. Now, doesn't mean they win the series, probably not. But hey, we said it last year, 3-1, it's over. Let's see how this thing plays out because LeBron was LeBron, but Kyrie came to the party. Kevin Love played well. Tristan Thompson played well. I mean, it was a total team effort, and that's what you need to compete with the Golden State Warriors.
Right, right. And you need a little help from Golden State as a couple of their guys didn't play up to their normal standards too. So kind of perfect storm for Cleveland last night as they were able to stave off elimination.
Stave,
Anything, Jessica? Yes,
like stave.
stave. Uh-huh.
Stave, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, hey, but look, here's another important factor about this, right? Like coming into it, it's like they lose, so let's see how Golden State handles. I think our good friend Bomani Jones always says, "Hey, the lemon booty," right? Let's see if the Cavs are able to get another game, right? Say they get, let's say they get Game 5. I don't think it'll happen, but let's say they do, right? They get Game 5. They go back
go
to Cleveland
7.
in Game 6.
Yeah.
They get that one, right? Can you imagine how tight Golden State would be in a Game 7 facing potentially giving up 2 series leads in back-to-back years? Yeah, I mean, I don't think it'll happen just because I think Golden State is that good. But if it gets to Game 7, man, whew.
Here is the thing. We need to see what happens the first quarter early in on Monday night.
Yeah, Game 5.
If Golden State comes out firing, and let's say they have a 35-point first quarter, then you got to assume that they will be up 10 or 11 points. And a 10, 11-point lead in Golden State is almost impossible to overcome, especially in Oakland.
I would even say not necessarily the scoring of Golden State, the rebounding. If Cleveland's shooting but they're only getting one shot, then you're looking good if you're a Golden State fan. The rebounding, I think, is more key because the shot making, I think, is the one thing you probably don't really worry about. They're gonna get shots up, they're gonna make shots, but can they rebound and keep Cleveland off the offensive backboards? That's the whole key to everything that Golden State does. So,
Cool.
Jesse, anything else? Game 5 preview. You said you want to see. You think the champagne's gonna be flowing? Gonna be
Yeah, just
trolling?
because they're that good, they're gonna troll, and I don't think. I mean, for Cleveland to win this, they have to sustain last night's effort for 4 games. I
Right.
don't see that energy in him just because you see LeBron worn out, you see Kyrie worn out, so I don't see it happening right now.
All right. All
I don't
right.
see it happening in like 4, much less 1.
Hey
All right.
man, I think the Cavs can win. Why not? All it takes, again, I mean, you got to be nearly perfect to beat those. There's a team that can do it, and it's the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think they've shown. It's a minute 30 seconds from winning game 3. You win game 3, you're looking at a 2-2 series. This is actually a series as a whole of the ball game.
Mm-hmm.
So would I be surprised if the Cavs win game 5? Absolutely not. I mean, why not? I mean, they've shown they can win on the. I mean, LeBron James. I mean, look, Kevin Durant's playing well. Steph Curry's playing well. Those guys are special. But LeBron James is still the baddest man on the planet when it comes to the NBA. And I don't see why he can't, particularly if Kyrie steps up again.
I
Well,
don't
let's
understand. Oh,
okay,
sorry, Tyler.
go
I
ahead.
just don't understand what the thinking is. It's like, at what point do you just make him pass the ball to somebody? I mean,
Who?
Kyrie, I understand that they're trying to just have Clay stay in front of him and just make him take a tough shot, but that's kind of what he does. So you kind of playing into what he does. He makes tough shots. So why don't you just make him do what he really doesn't want to do, which is be a point guard and pass the ball to people? I just that's just kind of, it seems like kind of counterintuitive in how they're guarding him.
Well, see, there's another thing you got to consider too. Um, with LeBron being on his opposite side, he can always find an open lane. Or if you have a shooter on his offhand, particularly on his on his right side, because he can actually finish with either hand. But if you got it to a place where he can kick it, kick it outside, particularly to a corner shooter, then that opens the entire lane up because you're playing him for the drive.
Yeah,
And it seems like he gets to the rim, other than of course the last minutes of game 3. Uh, he's pretty much gotten to the rim anytime he's wanted.
it seems like he does enough of that shimmying with his head down that you can kind of steer him where you want him to trap him at, and kind of just have your defense ready to make that, just rotate to that first pass to try to so that second pass can't get to you. Usually the second pass is what beats you on the rotation, not the first one. You can kind of get out to that one. So if you're kind of anticipating the trap is going to come, you can cheat and get out on that shooter that you're talking about and make him, just make Kyrie be a point guard. As clearly he doesn't want to be. He just wants to get the ball and score it. And that kind of is their offense. We got 2 guys who can get the ball and score it, and we got 1 guy who can get the ball and score it when he wants, who can pass it. So we use him as like our de facto point guard. And the guy who brings the ball up all the time, that's supposed to be our point guard, he's just our best, number 2 scorer, clutch guy. It's kind of a weird way that they kind of have their dynamic set up for a team, but it works for them because LeBron James can do everything. He covers up a lot of Kyrie's, non-playmaking point guard abilities. But that being said, just letting you know that this is No Score. We are on the CSPN.us. You can find us there. You can also find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher Radio, and Google Play. So at this point, we're going to turn it over to Tyler. He's going to get us up to date on some things that's been going on in the world of college athletics. There's been some moves going on, so change to the landscape. So Tyler, floor's all yours, man.
All right. A couple of major changes in the college landscape this week. After 18 years, Oklahoma head coach Bob Stoops has announced that he will step away um, from his head coaching position at Oklahoma. He may remain as a kind of consultant, which means, you know, don't call me, I'll call you, basically. Uh, he's handing over the reins to head coach in waiting, and it was pretty obvious he was in Lincoln Riley, who was the offensive coordinator. Um, you could talk about the greatness of Stoops, his remarkable consistency over the years. Um, the only knock against him is that he has probably won. He's only has one national championship. Has probably lost a direct shot at three others, and of course, that's going to be his only issue when you're comparing him against the other coaches that have been around as long as he has. But maybe they start over again with Lincoln Riley, and he takes that next step.
What was cool what's kind of weird about Stoops is he got his reputation for being the guy to bring enough defense to the fun and gun that Florida got a chance to win a national championship. So then he gets hired to Oklahoma when Oklahoma was in the depths and they were kind of stuck in kind of old school, football. Then he brings them to kind of the modern style to what we know the Big 12 is now. He was kind of the architect of that, but then he could never play enough defense again to win a national championship with Oklahoma after he won the first one. So,
Well,
very, very
look,
interesting.
man. Here's the thing, right? Um, this is the longest time that Oklahoma has been without a national championship in over 60 years. They haven't gone 16 years without a title, and football is everything to that school, to that university, and the fact that it's so hard, right? Because he's been able to compete. Oklahoma has no natural recruiting base. Oklahoma doesn't have the football players that the state of Texas does, just by sheer size, sheer number. They do it pretty well in West Texas, but they're getting the guys that the University of Texas doesn't want. And when you combine it with Baylor and all these other places coming up, it's really tough for those guys to recruit. So, in one way, the fact that he's been as good as he has is sure amazing. But then when you combine all of it, it may be time for a change, and we'll see if young Riley. Geez, kid's 30, guy's 30. I say kid because I'm not I'm not the same age, but guy's 33. That's really young to be a head coach of such a important program. They didn't put the interim tag on him either, so that means this is definitely the way they want to go, and they see him as the future of what they want going forward.
But is this, like you said, is this really an issue of you think of what's north of Oklahoma being Kansas, and that's more of a basketball heartland instead of football, and ironically, you can honestly say Oklahoma has done better in basketball lately than they have in football, or at least over the past 5 years.
Well, but even that's not necessarily true. Because we only if we look at Oklahoma, we're looking at just are we looking at them just through the frame of winning a national championship? Because I'd say they've done a lot in the last 5 years.
Yeah, and most people will take what Oklahoma has done. I'm not saying what Oklahoma has should be happy with it, but that track record.
Well, it's because, you have to also look at things as when he got there, Oklahoma was off the map. Now he's gotten them to the point where they're so on the map, the expectations, he's had the expectations that hasn't come through with him. He's been ranked number 1, lost in, to Houston, first game, get embarrassed, or, the year, they're supposed to be the best team in the country and they play for the national championship, they get smoked. So, I think that
you're still getting there though, right?
Right, but I think at some point it's like Coach K's early years. Yeah, he was getting there, but at some point when you're expected to win, you got to do it once or twice. The expectation of winning.
I get what y'all are saying.
Yeah,
I get what y'all are saying. I'm sorry. I get what y'all are saying. I'm not even saying you're wrong. It's just I got a feeling. Now, hey, who knows? This guy Riley Lincoln Riley may be that dude, and maybe he takes him to a championship. But I also think sometimes you got to be careful what you ask for, because if you let a guy like this go, and then you don't get back to close to where he was, I think University of Georgia's facing a similar thing, right?
Right.
What happens if Kirby Smart ain't that dude? Now you're set back even further. So it's hard to win, and I think sometimes certain places got to look at realistically. Like Oklahoma still thinks of itself as in the 50s and 60s and 70s when they were rolling, and times have changed. It's a little harder to get a kid to go to Norman, Oklahoma. Have you ever been? Any of you ever been in Norman, Oklahoma?
Nope.
Nope.
Yeah. Well, I'll
I
tell you
have.
this.
So yeah, it's literally nothing. It's almost like um, I've actually visited most of the Big Eight schools, and most of them, with the exception of SMU, which is in Dallas, it's nothing, or it's all of that university that runs the town, and that's it.
Well,
More,
you got Austin, you got Texas,
yeah,
you got
yeah, that's
yeah,
also pretty
Austin,
vibrant
Texas.
because it's got Dell, but but just think about that dust, the quote unquote Dust Bowl of reputation of that conference, going back to when it was the Southwest Conference.
Right, right,
It was
right.
just football and oil. That sentiment is still there.
Well, yeah, and you also got to remember too in that era. Because the Big Eight in the Southwest end up combining. That's how you have, I guess, the Big 12 or whatever it's called. So yeah, but you look at, Oklahoma, OSU. You look at those campuses. Don't get me wrong. Norman, it's a beautiful campus there, but I ain't nothing in that town, brother. I can tell you. I've been there more than you would think, man. There's not much. So I to say, I have to recruit national. It's not like University of Texas where they have a in-state recruiting base. It's not like UGA or Florida that have like these big in-state recruiting bases, or Southern Cal. Like, in order for good, they have to recruit national. It's almost like University of Michigan, where anytime Michigan's been good, it's because they've been able to dip into Ohio and get players out of the city of Cleveland, so on and so forth. For Oklahoma to be good, whenever they've been good, they've always had players from West Texas, i.e., Adrian Peterson. You can go on down the line. You go back and look at their great players. A lot of those guys have come out of that state of Texas. And now it's harder for them to get those guys than it's ever been. Because, look, like you said, if SMU is going to be good, why not go to Dallas? Austin is a great town. It's the state capital of Texas and a really fun city. You would go there. Oklahoma's going to have some challenges, and it's not going to be what those fans think it's going to be, being able to get and sign big-time athletes.
And that does not forget, Tom Herman, who was at Houston, is now at Texas.
Right.
So you killing two birds with one stone with one hire.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's gonna be tougher for Oklahoma than they think it is. Again, because of being able to get those kids there. Now, hey, like I said, if Lincoln Riley's that coach, plenty of money down in Oklahoma. So they'll get players, but it will be harder than they think.
All right, we're going to continue the
My man.
college discussion. We're going to go with the next hire in a similar situation at Ohio State basketball, where Dad Mata has been, it was announced that Dad Mata will be stepping down this season, and taking over will be the former head coach at the University of Butler, uh, who just finished a year at the NCAA tournament. So he's coming in with an 8-year deal, which is nuts. Chris Holtman is his name, and he'll be taking over. So any immediate reaction to the hire?
We'll see.
Yeah.
Go on, I'm sorry. Somebody going? I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, as for Ohio State, it's hard. It's hard, recruiting Big Ten, and expect. Yep, there's big expectations. I'm not sure they're gonna meet, but they hired the guy out of Butler. I forget his name right now, but I think
It's
Holtman, yeah.
Chris Holtman.
Yeah. I think it's going to be harder to recruit into the state of Ohio than Ohio State thinks, especially with.
Well, actually, I disagree because
Really?
The city. I disagree. Yeah, I tell you why. Well, one, Ohio State, the basketball program, they have great facilities actually.
They do.
Some of the best facilities in that conference. The arena's nice, and the workout facilities nice. They got that LeBron James money coming in, and on top of it, the city of Cleveland, they've recruited that city pretty well. They've also recruited the city of Indianapolis well. Actually, Indianapolis they've recruited Indianapolis better than the University of Indiana has. So, I mean, there's enough basketball talent around in the Midwest for them to get some. I think he'll be fine. I know Holtman came after Brad Stevens and kept the thing going at Butler. So I haven't covered him. But I'm going to assume he's a pretty damn good coach. I mean, he kept things going there, and he came up under Stevens. So I'm assuming he's a good coach. And if he can recruit, you know, they got that Nike money behind them. They'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you take like a mid-major coach and bring him to a quote-unquote major program, kind of like this, the coaching part of it, I never really worried about. It actually might even be an upgrade from Thad Matta as far as, you know, X's and O's and strategy part. But it's the, you know, the stuff that happens in the summertime, the recruiting, the boosters, the getting along with the people in the suits. That's kind of the thing that they may have to worry about, and the interaction with the higher level recruiting players. You know, it's one thing to have kind of coaches, players a little bit less, you know, more, you know, want to do their thing that you want to put on the board, and then jumping up to another level where you might have a kid that's got all this talent. It's a little rough around the edges when it comes to coaching wise. Those are the things that
Well, I
kind of
mean,
that he might have to
and
encounter that he hasn't encountered yet at Butler.
And keep in mind, I mean, this is a program that got Greg Oden and Conley there at the same time. I mean, they've had Lighty. I mean, they've had players. I mean, and look, say what you will about that, Mana, but he had a hell of a run there, man, and got that program back to being good. Ohio State, like I said, I mean, they're invested in basketball, and again, you know, LeBron James is invested in that program, so the money's gonna come in. They're gonna be able to recruit, and yeah, you'll be able to have. You know, I think one of the first calls Holtman made was to LeBron. You know what I'm saying? JD Greg Smith during the finals went and met with LeBron and got, you know, LeBron's stamp on this guy. So yeah, like I said, it ain't gonna fall off, man. I think they'll be able to get it and be okay. Will they be as good as, say, a Michigan, some of these other programs? Maybe not, but they'll be in the mix.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna get at,
But do
I'm
you
not
give
sure if
him
it's.
8 years though?
Well, I mean, honestly though, but these contracts now, you know, he's not going to see the whole 8 years. That's just him having a damn good agent and basically making sure that he's going to get paid, you know, if he doesn't work out in 4 years. But that's why, and you'll see more of these 7-8 year contracts for coaches because basically guys are trying to protect themselves financially. That's all that is.
All right. Just a reminder that you are listening to Know the Score here on the CSPN. You can reach us at the Twitter, on Twitter at KTSPOD, and you can find all of us individually in our at the Know the Score Twitter. Nabias, I know you're live on a location. Just gonna take this
Yes,
chance
sir.
to let you talk about how your Braves are doing and anything that you can see, anything that you've seen so far in baseball, because now you know baseball is coming to the forefront of the national scene since it's after Memorial Day and the NBA season's almost over. Any thoughts on what's going on in baseball?
Well, shit, they ain't my Braves, but they are the Braves. Nah, but seriously, I'm actually sitting here in the dugout now. I just got back in town from I'm barely awake, but I'm here. So anyway, and for a doubleheader, today we're gonna see the debut of Sean Newcomb. You know, pitchers don't talk on the day of their start, but I got to see him a little bit, and I covered him down when he was in Gwinnett. Saw him in spring training. The kid has a solid curveball, and that fastball lights it up. I think you have a chance to see what's going to be special. Then in the second game, you have Matt Whistler, a guy who making like his 42nd appearance as a major leaguer, and a guy who is now trying to show that he can stick here with the Braves. So today is definitely, and I say this Saturday. I'm assuming when this airs Sunday.
Yeah, I think
So.
so.
Yeah, by the time this airs, you already know the result of what happened. But you know, this will be. Braves fans for the last couple of years have been asking when are we going to see the kids, when they're going to see the kids. Well, today on this beautiful Saturday, you're going to see the kids. So They have a chance. You know, the Braves organization has shown some willingness. They went out and got Matt Adams. Matt Adams has played pretty well in the stead of Freddie Freeman, who for the first month and a half of the season was having what looked like was going to be one of the great seasons in baseball history. And unfortunately, got hit in the hand against Toronto on just a freak play. You know, broke some bones up in there, and he's going to be out for, I think, at least another 8 weeks. So that's going to be tough. I mean, you know, look, the Braves are coming into today's action about 5 games from being a 500 team. Talked to Brandon Phillips earlier. He said if the Braves get to 500, they can really make some noise. So we'll see if that's true. Pitching has been a struggle for this team, which is why it's even more important to see what these kids do today. And, you know, shout out to the Yankees. I mean, they have figured out a way. Their rebuild has worked. And they don't even have Greg Bird yet, but the kid Aaron Judge has been a monster, and it looks like he's got a very bright. They're good. The Astros are just kicking it and tearing it up. And, I mean, the Nationals, I mean, look, they're leading the National League East in what, quite honestly, is a very weak division, considering that the Mets have Syndergaard out. Matt Harvey had a good start last night, his first good start in, about a month. So the Mets, and they're also missing Cespedes, who will be, I think, in action. He is here in Atlanta today. So I think he's either going to play today or tomorrow. I haven't seen it. As we're recording here, I haven't seen today's lineup. At least I don't have it in front of me. So I think Cespedes will play either in the first or second game today, coming back. So maybe the Mets will get it together. But it's been a fun season in a lot of ways, and we will see what the Braves are. But like I said, right now, Braves are just focused on getting to 500 and seeing what's going to come next with some of these kids who they've been talking about in Double and Triple A coming up when the 40-man roster expands.
Let me ask you about the Colorado Rockies. Is this bullpen for real? I mean, can they continue to kind of do what they're doing in that ballpark? It's been amazing. Their home bullpen. I mean, they finally figured out how to keep the runs down in Coors Field.
Well, I mean, you know, there's a secret, right? Well, not really a secret, but I joke when I say that. But, I mean, you got to have pitchers who can get the ball down. Right. You got to have pitchers who can get strikeouts and get ground outs. If you can do that, then you're fine. You can't have fly ball pitchers in parks like that. And oddly enough, I think SunTrust Park here in Atlanta is starting to play that, whereas Turner Field was a pitcher's park. And for those of you fuddy-duddies, the old school, you remember Atlanta Fulton County Stadium was almost a launching pad. So I think this place is kind of a launching pad. But to answer your question, what they have are guys who get strikeouts.
Right.
Guys who get strikeouts. Hey, you know, thinking man meme, right? Can't hit a home run if you can't hit it, right?
Right. Yeah, I think that's a lot of things that a lot of people don't take into consideration is like you have to kind of shape your baseball team to your home ballpark. So, you know, once you start looking at kids, especially for pitchers and hitters, you know, like the Mets, that has such a big ballpark, they couldn't hit home runs. So, but they kept trying to get these home run hitters. It's like, well, you need to kind of change up your park, you know, so they went with the pitching and they had a good season that year, you know, but, you know, the pitching hasn't been helping further, but.
There's no sport where the field of play affects it more than baseball. I mean, the field of play, everything from the infield. If the infield is a little rocky, that can cause some issues because the balls are placed funny. If the grass is cut too high, too low, I mean, the field of play affects baseball more than any other sport. And as I mentioned with the Braves, I think we're still figuring out what SunTrust Park is and what it plays like. Like I said, it seems like a hitter's park now, and it hasn't even gotten hot yet. So curious to see what the humidity is going to do as the ball flies out. Because right now, it gets out of here in a hurry. Last night, I was at the finals. I was watching the Braves game, and you know, Granderson took Jason Mott deep on a ball that probably is maybe a double and maybe a double in Turner Field, but here it's a home run.
Here's another thing. Also, over the years, I've listened to a former Sporting News alum when it comes to baseball, Bob Kemp, who's now in Phoenix. Kemp has been contending that He subscribes to the juice ball theory literally over the past couple of years, and especially with the kid at Cincinnati who hit 4 bombs and drove in 10 runs uh, this past week. Are you buying that maybe something's being done with the baseballs itself themselves, or I know the field of play is
It,
important, but could it be the
I
ball?
mean, it could be. It's so hard to tell that stuff, and that's something that takes years to kind of see if there's a difference. I mean, would I be surprised if the balls are wound a little tighter now? Maybe, maybe not. I've heard guys say that, not just Kemp but other guys. But then I'll talk to some ball players, and some say they don't notice a difference, and some say they do. I think at the end of the day, no matter what it is, ball meets bat. I will say this: the ballparks now are smaller than ever. Like Cincinnati's a total bandbox. Philly's a total bandbox. It's a joke how much balls got there. SunTrust at least plays pretty fair, but the ball gets out of here.
I don't
But
think
center field's still 400. I mean, the power alleys are 375. I mean, now right field, that right field by the pole is 325. I'm literally looking at the dimensions now, and I mean, so yeah, like the dimensions, it's not a small part, but the ball gets out. So as far as with the balls, I'm not saying Kemp is wrong because I read his stuff. He's very smart. I'm just going to say it's very hard to tell that, and you need more time. But as like I was saying with the Rockies, with their pitchers, man, I think they figured something out, and they're going to be pretty good in what is still one of the tougher divisions in baseball.
I don't think they've given enough credit to bat technology though. Bats are bats are a lot different than they used to be. It used to be guys had really big handles and really big barrels. Now they got these
Mm-hmm.
little skinny handles and these really
Yes.
huge barrels. And so they're getting a lot more bat on the ball than they used to, just the way
Mm-hmm.
the bats are made. So even if the balls are wound a little bit tighter, like you're saying, Tobias, there's more bat getting to the ball. So that's the reason why velocity is starting to, get to a big thing now where the velocity of the, ball leaving the bat is starting to become like a big stat.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, too. Like, and it's crazy because you can see all these stats if you do StatCast and all these other things where, you look at the velocity of 110. Like I mentioned Aaron Judge earlier. He had a ball the other day that came off his bat at 110 miles an hour. It went right up the middle. I mean, what do you do? So, yeah, I mean, the game evolves. I think baseball, like I said again, more than any other sport, the field and the equipment affect baseball a lot. I mean, even the batting gloves are different. I mean, the tape's different. I mean, they're doing a lot of different things. So, there was a period where the hitters had it, during the juiced era, quote unquote. Then when that went out, the pitchers had it. And I think now the hitters are starting to catch back up again. So it goes in cycles, man.
All right, just a reminder that you are listening to Know the Score, and you can catch us here live on the CSPN.us. You can also check some of our past episodes as well. Uh, Don, kicking it back to you. Uh, do you have, and as we say goodbye to the bias, want to thank you for catching in as he's uh, getting ready for the baseball doubleheader with the Braves. Um, I think we can round up with final thoughts for today. If you have anything, the bias as you go out, anything you want to talk about? Or
Well, I mean, real quick, I won't keep it too long. What I will say is, man, this week saw death of two people who I really care about. Tim Frank with the NBA, who was over a lot of the PR stuff, and a good friend of mine, Dan Rosen. We used to work for CNN as a brewer. So, two men I got to know on levels, man, are now not with us anymore. And it just goes to show you yet again, life is valuable. Make sure you tell the people in your life that you love them. And, man, God bless you all, each and one. And thanks for having me again. And, man, looking really forward to kicking it with y'all throughout the rest of the summer.
No problem, Tobias. Thanks for joining us, man.
Bonnie bias.
All right. So at this point, Jessica, I'm going to kick it over to you as you're going to give us a little footy talk as this is the busy season, as we have a lot of championships and qualifiers are taking place this time of year. So you and Tyler can bounce around the soccer ball.
Sure. So last weekend, the Champions League final was played where Real Madrid won La Duodecima, which is the 12th Champions League title, solidifying their dominance in the Champions League. I think we had some goals from Ronaldo. What is it? Give me 1 second. Oof, I lost my source when that sound thing came up. Give me 1 second. I'll start that again, but I lost my resources. Not Carvajal. I thought we scored it. Ronaldo. Ah! That was unexpected. God dang it. This is what I wanted to avoid in the first place. Okay, so can I start again?
Sure. Just count
Thank
yourself
you.
down. 3.
All right.
We'll just do the whole thing over. 3,
Sure.
2, 1. And at this time, we're going to turn it over to Jessie as she can give us a little talk on what's going on in the world of soccer.
All right. So last Saturday, Real Madrid and Juventus played in the UEFA Champions League, where Real won La Duodecima, which is their 12th Champions League title, further solidifying their reign as one of the best teams in Europe. And we had a goal from Ronaldo. We had a goal from Casemiro, and I think it was in Cardiff, and it was a Wang Bang Doodle. It was also suspected it might be Gianluigi Buffon's last game as the Juventus goalkeeper. Tyler, what did you see from that game, or what do you love about this game, or that game, that match in particular?
What I loved was the fact that Juventus. We all knew that Real was going to take over, particularly in the second half, as they did. But we loved Juventus willing to bring the fight to Real early, and after getting one of the greatest goals that you will ever see uh, from a Croatian superstar, uh, with a literal standing bicycle volley.
Mandzukic, I think.
Yes, Mandzukic, to tie the game at 1. Uh, After that, Real just turned it up another level. It was as if uh, it was as if Real just decided to uh, reassert its dominance, and they essentially controlled the ball. Uh, they controlled the midfield, and all of a sudden, you had successful runs from um, Cristiano Ronaldo, as he ended up scoring. Not only did he score in the first half, he also scored in the second half as well. Just brilliant, brilliant runs, and of course, Luka Modric got involved too, and Sergio Ramos essentially kept the ball out of midfield, doing as he does, um, and you could just see where Real was just 2 steps above Juventus just about every time, and eventually Juventus went down to 10 men, and that was pretty much just waiting for the trophy presentation. Um, it's a bittersweet departure for Buffon, who um, you almost have to put him up there with he might be the greatest Italian player ever to do it. Some will say he is that loved in Italy. Um, for club and country, he has been a mainstay in the European soccer. Uh, and this will be the only title that you know, assumedly that you can assume that he probably won't go home with, because we know that he's near his last days on the pitch. But he's had a remarkable career. He can say that he's been to 3 Champions League finals. He's won a World Cup. I mean, he's just about done everything you can do in the terms of professional soccer. So he will be remembered as one of the greats for his length and his spectacular athleticism. He definitely will be missed, and now you got to know who's going to be that next great keeper. that we can defend on? Was it could it would it you thought it would be Iker Casillas with the Spanish success on the world stage, but uh, he's a bit of an enigma. So who's going to take that mantle from Buffon as the best keeper in the world? And that's an interesting question.
Yeah, because I really haven't seen anyone who has come out heads and shoulders in that regard. So,
And are there really 5 or 6 really good ones that you can depend on across Europe? I mean, the fact that Tim Howard is even in the conversation could tell it kind of brings to light. I mean, is the goalkeeping situation is the goalkeeping across Europe that great?
fair
You
point.
got to wonder about that.
I mean, Tim will say, "Oh, yeah." Like I said, I can't think of someone like, "Oh, this one, he's safe hands." Or you still have Iker Casillas, who is a good goalkeeper, even though he's now he plays at Porto, sure, but and he's does he has his moments where he shows moments of brilliance, but I can't definitively say that there's one keeper I would that. Oh, well, maybe what's his name, Manuel Neuer. That's the only one that really comes to me because the goalkeeper for Germany. But
Hmm.
yeah,
But
no,
that's really about it. And I just think that nobody has really taken keeping to a step to where you can say that they are. I don't want to say reliable because I think that it's one of the most difficult jobs in the world. But to have him as it's been a while since you can say that a keeper is actually a true threat as far as um, being recognized, with the exception of maybe with Howard's performance in the World Cup a few years back. But that's really about it.
right. So this week we also saw a few European qualifying games for the World Cup. The World Cup will be held in Russia next year. Any matches that have come to you? I know yesterday for me there was Sweden versus France where Giroud scored a goal for France, but Sweden pulled ahead 2-1. But any qualifying games for the World Cup that have stood out?
Um, I think that what carried the conversation was France and Sweden, um, where the winning goal was scored in extra time when the keeper came off his line and unmistakably let a ball just didn't clear the ball, and eventually um, Sweden recovered and sent the ball past him almost about 60 feet away. So, uh, but other than that, it's pretty much business as usual. I think that there's going to be a lot of heavy interest in uh, the USA's 2 qualifiers, with Trinidad and Tobago and um, Mexico coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this is a chance for Bruce Arena to make a statement finally, as him assuming control of Team USA, because it's clearly not one of USA's better qualifying squads. I think they're still recovering after uh, after Landon Donovan. I think that USA is relying a lot on Clint Dempsey as far as their offense, and they need Josie out the door to get back in and reestablish his confidence. And there are also a ton of questions on the defensive end too. So um, I think that a victory or getting points against Mexico would be huge for Team USA.
Okay. And then one player, now speaking of the U.S. team, I want to talk about one player in particular, Christian Pulisic. He plays his club football for Borussia Dortmund. Many have said that he has helped restore their faith in U.S. soccer. I think he's unreasonable. For me, I think he's unreasonable. He's just, I would also say that, he's going to be a key player. He's an emerging key player in the U.S. qualifier, just because he's so young, so good, and he's only 18. So there's so many years ahead of him that he can be, a stalwart and a captain for the U.S. team. But did you watch the Trinidad and Tobago match? I believe that was Wednesday.
I did. I did see
Okay.
that. And cautious optimism is the
Mhm.
phrase being used for Christian right now, because he's still learning. He can put the back of the net, and I think that anytime that you can do that, you're going to be recognized as a times where he kind of looked out of place, particularly scrambling counterattacks and trying to just getting back in individual one-on-one defending situations too. It's just where um, he is still learning how to combine all of his skill, particularly in open, um, and that's he's going to improve. So it's great to look forward to. It's great that he can finish because you need someone to focus your defense on. But I'm looking to see Altidore or the midfield to just take over and assume leadership, because we haven't had that since the good run of Michael Bradley. So that's step one for Team USA. They've got to get better at midfield.
Fair enough. I'm going to wrap this up really quickly, just saying the FIFA. One second. What's that? 1 second. I really just lost my train of thought.
Okay, we'll count you in. Confederations Cup.
Yeah, that's what I meant. All right.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. So wrap up the segment, just kind of previewing the FIFA Confederations Cup, which is a tournament between all of the Continental Cup winners. And whew, I'm gonna try that again. You good with the mic, Tyler? Okay. All right, so I'll count myself back in. I'll do that intro again. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we'll end the segment off just kind of previewing the FIFA Confederations Cup. For those who don't know, the FIFA Confederations Cup is a tournament that is held in the host nation of the World Cup the year before the World Cup actually happens. The teams invited are all of the Continental Cup winners, including the host nation and the World Cup winners of the winners of the previous World Cup. So in this year's tournament, you have Russia, you have New Zealand, you have Cameroon, you have Germany, you have Mexico, you have Chile, and you have Portugal. So really quickly, Tyler, are you a fan of the Confederations Cup tournament? Just because it's just such a dress rehearsal. I mean, you have really good teams to play, but it's kind of not a minnow tournament, but a minor championship, although all the players want to win it.
The Federations Cup, I think that you can have a dress rehearsal tournament like this to just give the teams a feel, because they know they're pretty sure they're going to be in the World Cup for one, and number two, coaches to get some form of strategy against competition, and I think gives younger players an opportunity to. And I believe that in order to expand, I know that FIFA has the market that it wants, but I think in order to expand the market, you need more opportunities for younger stars to perform well for a country. I different because your club is going to get the club is going to get exposure.
Hello?
Did we lose them?
I'm not sure. Tyler, did we lose you?
He might have unplugged his mic or something.
Tyler?
Hello, check one,
Hi.
two.
Yep, you're back.
Okay. Let me. All right. I just really had to remove my headphones because I think there's a short in it. So I'm going to count myself in, and we can just go back to my answer.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Well, I think that the Confederations Cup gives younger players an opportunity to uh, get an opportunity to play on the world stage. I think that a lot of times when you play with your club gets your exposure to just fans of your club. But however, when you play for that national shirt, you get exposure to the world. I think that when you do that, I think that even though the Confederation Cup is technically, like you said, a dress rehearsal, I believe that it gives a lot of young players that experience that they need to go into the World Cup the following year. And any experience is good experience when you go and compete for that gold trophy. That being said, there's going to be a lot of elite players in this in the Confederations Cup, which gives the tournament validity. Everybody wants to see Cristiano Ronaldo, and of course he will be playing, which is great. Um, but he's not the only world star. Um, you have you can bring in um, your top talent from Europe, like Luka Modric, or some folks that you just saw in Real Madrid. A lot of them will be competing in the Confederations Cup. So um, I really, really like chances to see some of the good best players in the world, even when it's not the World Cup. They're playing against elite competition, so they're going to bring it. So yeah, I think that Confederations Cup is a great opportunity.
All
All
right.
right. Well, thank you guys for a great talk about soccer. I know we don't get a chance to really bring that up here on the show, so it's a good chance that you guys get some quality time to get that in. So at this point, I'm going to open it up to both of you. So we'll start with Jesse. Anything else on the fringes that you just want to wrap up the show with? Anything that sticks out? I know Stanley Cup is uh we still all for PK, right?
Yes, I am.
How's it looking?
Damn right. After Sidney Crosby trying to mush his head in the ice, still Team PK. Like, just ride harder, a little bit harder. What else has stuck out to me this week? It's been a busy week. And everything's just going so fast. So hopefully Nashville can take this game to 3-3. I hope someone could mush Stanley Crosby's face into the ice. And we'll take it from there.
All right. Tyler?
Two things. Going back to, I'm also with you. I have been, and actually, I think with this incident with Crosby and PK, you're starting to create a rivalry that the NHL needs. Um, who would have thought that that PK Subban would be the subject of conversation when when you get to the Stanley Cup? I mean, Nashville is the lowest seeded team in this tournament. The fact that they're even in the Stanley Cup is a story in itself. They were propelled by the Subban trade, and now you've got the perennial star of the NHL, probably the number one player in the NHL, going at this guy. This is great theater. I mean, it's even better theater than some say Actually, a lot of folks are saying that this is better theater than the NBA Finals, even though there have been just as many lopsided games in the NHL Finals. Um, now you've got Charles Barkley appearing in Nashville. You've got bar fights in Nashville, even involving Rex and Rob Ryan. You got you've got the national anthems being sung by country music's finest. Regardless of whether they do the anthem well or not. But the fact is, Nashville has become the darling of the NHL after hosting the All Star game last year. So now they have the team that's just as good, and they have a hot goaltender. So Pecorine shows up tonight in Nashville. I mean, it very well could be decided in Game 7. My final thought for the evening, I just want to send a special shout out to my alma mater, North Carolina A&T State University. Last night, the Aggies competed in the NCAA Track and Field Championships in Eugene, Oregon. I want to send a special shout out to uh, Chris Belcher, who recorded two of his lifetime best times. He ran twice under 10 seconds in the in the 100-meter dash, where he ended up third. He will automatically become the first team All-American. He finished fifth in the 200 meters later on, and the 4x1 meter relay team also finished third nationally, breaking the school record. Um, the third place finish is the best overall in school history, um, in any NCAA final. Um, so those guys are going to come home with some medals and hardware, and that's a major statement for North Carolina A&T, which finished the NCAA tournament with 16 points, which tied for them for 14th in the country. They qualified 13 athletes when you total all the men and women, um, and six of those athletes made the finals. So the track and field future is looking very bright for North Carolina A&T. Uh, it's an amazing story to see when you see an HBCU up there with all of those athletes there. 13 athletes is the most that HBCU has brought ever to a Division I meet to qualify. So um, that's just outstanding. The Aggies did sweep indoor and outdoor championships. First time that's been done in the MEAC since Hampton did it in 2003. Um, so just absolutely unexpected and remarkable year for North Carolina A&T, and it was great to see them on getting highlighted on ESPN last night. So um, that's my final thoughts, and looking forward to recording with you guys soon.
All right. My real quick final thought again, talk about some auto racing, hashtag rampant black neckery. As this week, for the first time since 2006, we're actually going to have an African American driver on the track in the biggest series, the Monster Cup Energy Series, as Daryl, aka Bubba Wallace Jr., is going to make his Cup debut in the iconic Richard Petty number 43. This is like a really big deal. There hasn't been a black race car driver with this much talent ever in the sport. The fact that he's breaking into the Richard Petty Motorsports number 43, probably the most famous car in the sport, is groundbreaking. And Ford recognized that this guy probably needs a chance, and he's one of their up and coming stars as far as a pitch man and things like that. So they really kind of made this happen. They found a way to um, get this deal to go down. Unfortunately, Eric Almirola, the full-time driver of the 43 car, got injured, and so that's the reason why the spot has been opened up. But nonetheless, somebody goes down, opens up a spot for somebody else to step up, and Bubba Wallace is getting that chance. So this Sunday, he's going to make his start. He's going to run at Pocono. It's going to be his first race. He's probably going to get about 6 to 8 races at least before the original driver of the 43 starts to kind of get back into where he can maybe get back into the car. So hopefully he can get some good finishes, and Ford can work something out where they can maybe find him a ride for the rest of the year in the big time series. So really thrilled. This has kind of been about a 3-4 year process in the making, since he won his first truck race and kind of got on the national scene as an up and coming driver. He's a part of NASCAR's diversity series. Um, his other classmates have already made it into NASCAR. Those are Daniel Suarez and Kyle Larson. Both of those guys are have Mexican descent. So Bubba Wallace was the third member of that original diversity class. So now he's there too. So just really excited for this Sunday. So
Let
can't
me
wait to
add.
see what he does.
I want to add to the fact that this past race weekend, uh, the NASCAR diversity program had its first African American woman to serve as a pit crew with Denny Hamlin's crew. Her name is Brianna Daniels. She will be. She will actually be. She's already made her debut. She will be actually on stage when Hamlin pits this weekend. So shout out to them. And just wanted, I know I have some friends that were personally involved in that NASCAR diversity project, including one, Terrence Jenkins, who is a North Carolina A&T grad, and he was one of the first guys to go through when they were just allowing interns in that program to serve in the media part. So it's great to see that. That's been a long time coming for those folks that were the first graduates. So it's a very, very proud moment. The Twitter @ is NASCAR diversity.
Right, right. So they're doing really big things over there. So just trying to open up the sport to more people, and people that they don't think would have an interest. But you never know. There could be some kid and his dad racing go-karts that sees Bubba race on that track, tomorrow, and be like, yeah, we're gonna keep doing it. This can actually happen for me. So just really excited. So for Tyler, for Jesse, and also Nabias, I'm your host Don Delarente, and now you know the score.
All right, that's a wrap.
All right,
right.
guys.
Okay.
Have a good evening.
You too. Okay, you
You too,
too.
man.
Bye.
Mhm.
Bye.